But I know that I've looked up just to see, you know, what is the most popular website from this region to this region. And when you look at some of the porn websites, they are really popular in places like the Middle East and, you know, heavily religious countries, which I find kind of ironic, but kind of not surprising. You know, when you look at, there's a lot of the Muslim countries that are super conservative when it comes to sex and sexuality. They are heavy consumers of pornography, even gay porn, you know?
Well, because we are human beings with human drives. And so when you artificially stifle that drive, you're going to get a lot of people going for it elsewhere. And they'll be the same exact people saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. But, oh, I have this urge I can't help, and God will forgive me, and I'm going to go do it anyway. And that is perpetuated and perpetuated and perpetuated because they're not allowing themselves a normal, healthy freedom of sexual expression. And so, like you say with gay porn, there's probably a much, much higher percentage of the population that's gay, but they can't admit it, or they can't be open about it, or they feel shame for it. And that pisses me off. Like, that is
especially over there. I mean,
yeah.
It's gotten a little bit more open, I guess, in our country with, you know, gay rights is still, you know, we're still working on some stuff, but at least we have the ability to work on it. Whereas if you're gay in Iran or Saudi Arabia, you don't exist according to the government, you know? And so what do? They download gay porn, I guess, and
they keep
do
it
the best they can.
It's really unfortunate.
Yeah. And, you know, you talk about religion stifling sexuality or sexual expression. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the scandals in the Catholic Church as well, you know, where I don't know what the relation is. I don't know if there's science that can back this up. It's probably something that needs to be studied, but it seems strange that you have so many abusers coming out of the church, where you would think you would have a less the proportion of abusers from that institution would be less than in others, but it doesn't seem that way.
I've heard it argued by Catholic apologists, and I've never actually looked into this figure, but this is something that comes up frequently when I talk to Catholic apologists. They actually suggest that your odds per capita of being molested by your priest are far less likely than being molested by your school teacher if you're in a public school. That's the argument that they make. I don't know if that's true, but to be perfectly honest, I can believe that. It doesn't sound unreasonable to me. I mean, we hear about the school stuff to this day all constantly. I mean, there are some crowds that cheer for it, and then there are others that are, of course, shaming that, which is a thing unto itself. But I honestly don't know. I feel like I just wanted to mention that because you said it's like you can't think of any other institutions that perhaps rape at higher instances. I mean, I think the Boy Scouts of America at one point, I think their average was slightly higher than the Catholic Church as well. Although but again, organization, actually,
they're a religious organization, though. You know, the Boy Scouts of America, one, they didn't allow gays forever, and they didn't even allow atheists. You know, I think they've only recently. I'm not sure if they changed their policy. It was controversial just a couple of years ago, and you know, a lot of people were boycotting Boy Scouts of America because of those policies. But the bottom line is they were essentially a religious organization for a long time, and you know, so I don't know if they still
are. I think they're being forced into being more inclusive and allowing these different things. But I think technically, aren't they still under the Mormon Church?
I don't know that. That's an interesting question. But yeah, I don't know that. I did want to bring in. Well, I'm not sure if she wants to come in. We've got Borg Skeptic. Oh, there you are. We've got Borg Skeptic behind the scenes, and Borg, your alias is Trans Atheist, right?
Yeah, I used to go by Trans Atheist. Now I go by Borg Skeptic, obviously, but.
And you are you identify as asexual, correct?
Yes, I do. Yes.
So, what's your perspective on this? We've talked about how we think it's unfair that, you know, sex and sexuality is been hindered by religion in some cases, that it seems taboo even in secular society based on maybe the influences of religion. But I don't know. We're all biased because the rest of us are kind of sexual beings into different people and different things. What's your perspective on it?
Well, my perspective is, obviously being asexual, I sit on the outside of all of this, and personally for me, I'm not attracted to anyone. Do I have sexual desires? Yes, I do. So porn is something which is a need for me. So I obviously have ideas on the porn thing. I don't think we should get rid of porn. Because there's people who need porn for sexual release, which and one of the big things that I see is with porn in particular is having that outlet to have that sexual release actually increases productivity in the brain. So it allows you to be more productive if you go without sex or without porn or whatever. Without that sexual release for extended amounts of time, then your brain actually starts to slow down. You're not as productive.
Absolutely believe that. Now that you mentioned it, I could kind of think back on some dry spells where I've been busy or camping or something and I didn't have my me time for like a week. Yeah, I get a little cranky, and that makes sense.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
No, I was just gonna say I don't even think that's tongue in cheek or anything. I think that's absolutely real. Like, we forget how much our sexual needs are tied into the rest of our health, right? Mental, physical, whatever. And when we're not getting our needs met, I think we do suffer. I think mentally is probably the biggest way in which we suffer.
But as far as like the taboos of sex, there's definitely taboos in sex. I can, just like there's problems in all areas of life. People have these emotional issues that they deal with, and so I see it from the asexual point of view. It's amazing how much in our society everyone has to put you into a little box inside the head. You've got to fit into a little box somewhere, and if you don't fit with that, you don't fit in any of those boxes, then people have resentment towards you. I see that as from the asexual point of view. The amount of people who've got absolutely angry with me, absolutely furious when I've told them that I'm asexual.
Do they not believe you?
Committing some crime or something. Sorry, what?
I was just asking, like, do they not believe you, or what makes them so angry?
I don't know. It's something. It's weird. It's because
like maybe it challenges their precepts or something.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, could it be some sort of envy? I mean, is it possible to be envious that you are burdened with this task of needing and having to find sexual partners where other people aren't? They can live perfectly happy lives without having the stresses involved in that. Maybe there's something to that.
It could be. I've never thought of it in that from that angle before. I tend to think that it's because they can't fit me in that little box. I'm outside of the norm, and just like and it goes back to religion, like you were talking about. And religion teaches that everyone has to be a certain way. Everyone is a certain way, and you can't be not that way. You have to sit inside this framework. And
it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And if you sit in, it doesn't matter which way you sit outside of that framework. If you sit outside that framework, then you're not normal. Which is another thing which I find funny is this term normal that we always use in our society. Really, there is no such thing as normal. That's not a term that we should even have.
Is prostitution bad? Is it immoral, amoral, moral? What do you think, Caleb?
Look, I kind of put it in that amoral category. I don't think that prostitution unto itself is necessarily a moral or immoral thing. It's just a job. It's something that if that's something that you want to do, willing to do, or maybe you feel like you need to do, but are still willing to consent, mind you, then by all means. I've heard it said a million times that prostitution's the oldest job in the world. People have been paying for sex forever, and it's not going to stop. It's the same with the porn issue. There's going to be porn forever. There's always been porn. There's going to be porn forever. It's going to be the same with prostitution, I think. Maybe not legally, but of course, there's going to be people that are willing to participate on that on both sides of the aisle. I think that it should just be legal across the board. There's absolutely no reason why we should be dictating what people can and can't do with their bodies and what they're willing to charge for their services, whatever their services happen to be. And like we're talking about consenting adults, and I think that that's simple enough. Consenting adults can do with themselves and their bodies as they so desire.
Does it seem, Laura, that women are shamed about this line of work more so than men? Is this something that that people tend to judge women more harshly in society?
I mean, from my perspective, yes. I almost hesitate to say more so than men, because people just don't tend to talk about men in prostitution. And there are male prostitutes. We just don't tend to talk about it socially very much. So I would say the conversation about male prostitutes is almost socially ignored. But females, like just prostitution in general, tends to always encompass the whole idea of it being a female. And it does tend to be like sort of bastardized. Like women are looked down upon. They're kind of slut shamed. And so, yeah, I think that it's looked down as like a dirty job. Like she's a dirty person. When in fact, like the brothels in Nevada, that's the state where I'm from, they have to get STD checks all the time. I hesitate to say how often in case I'm wrong, but and now they're doing things like COVID checks, and they have all these precautions they have to do, and like the customers get checked. I mean, there's so many safety precautions in line in terms of women's health when it's legal. It's when it's on the back streets and it's illegal and it's done under the radar that it becomes dangerous, where women get more raped, or I should say raped more often, where they're not paid as much as they should be or at all, or when they're hurt or given like various diseases or whatever. When it's regulated, they're a lot better taken care of.